I want you to meet Angela, a 42-year-old project manager and mother of two. She recently finished radiation for breast cancer. And while everyone around her is celebrating that she beat it, she feels lost. Her skin is scarred, intimacy feels impossible, and she's terrified the cancer might come back. Angela doesn't want to join another support group where she's told to just stay positive. She wants to know what's next. Today, we'll be speaking with our special guest, Dr. Michelle D. Clark, a licensed mental health therapist, the founder of Lift After Breast Cancer, and the visionary behind Celebrate Transformation Elevation Brunch. She'll help us advise Angela on her next steps. By the end of this episode, you'll learn the worst thing about many breast cancer support systems and why women like Dr. Clark often feel abandoned once treatment ends, the hidden struggles of high-performing women navigating cancer, caregiving, and careers, and how to rebuild confidence, redefine beauty, and create community when the medical system leaves you behind. If you're new here, welcome to the Melanin Initiative. I'm Dr. Kimberly Madison, a doctorally prepared nurse practitioner and one of your co-hosts here at the Melanin Initiative podcast, along with Alicia and Geraldine, who send their love in their absence. We're a health literacy podcast. When we say health literacy, we're talking about your ability to obtain information, to understand that information, and then to use it to manage your health and advocate for others. We have two missions here. The first, to elevate that health literacy amongst the public and our peers. The second is to elevate the expertise of nurses, to bring awareness to all the diverse career opportunities in the industry, and to let all of our peers know how they can leverage their expertise, both as clinicians and entrepreneurs. If you're new here, welcome. This is your chance to subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Go over to Apple and Spotify. Give us 5 stars. Every time you engage with our platform like that, it shows the algorithm that this information is important, so that when people like you look for topics like this, we'll show up higher in the search results. Remember, this show is for educational purposes only. The opinions expressed here are our opinions alone. They are not a representation of any of our affiliations. If you think you might be experiencing a medical emergency, you should seek medical attention and medical guidance from your healthcare provider. If you think you might be having a physical emergency, you can call 911. If someone you know or yourself might be having a mental health emergency, you can call 988 or text 741-741. Our guest today is not only a licensed mental health therapist and transformational speaker, she's a woman who has survived strokes, breast cancer, radiation burns, and the emotional toll of feeling unseen on her own healing journey. Out of her lived experience, she created a movement, helping women lift their voices, rebuild their confidence, and discover life after cancer. Dr. Michelle D. Clark is the founder of Lift After Breast Cancer and the visionary behind the Celebrate Transformation Elevation Brunch, an annual sold-out gathering for survivors. She's also a board member of Susan G. Komen, an advocate who lobbies on Capitol Hill, and a daily motivator on LinkedIn, where her writing inspires thousands. Her work is about more than surviving cancer. It's about reimagining yourself, reclaiming your power, and thriving after life-altering trauma. And today, she's here to show us how. Dr. Clark, welcome to the Melanin Initiative.
Thank you so much, Dr. Madison, for having me.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. If you can tell us, our audience, where you're joining us from.
Yeah, absolutely. I am coming in from sunny Detroit, Michigan. And I do want people to know, though, because I have to give a shout out to my hometown. I'm really just a small town girl with big time dreams, and God has shown his grace and his mercy. He saved me from some life-threatening things. And when I talk about small town, I'm talking about Harvey, Illinois. And most folks don't know where that's from. Do you know where that's from, Dr. Madison, where that is?
No.
Nope, most folks don't. It is near the south side of Chicago, but unfortunately, most folks know how Chicago got its nickname Chirac. And but fortunately, I didn't have to have any of those dealings, if you will, because my parents did an excellent job of raising me. So I went to school, got good grades, and got my bachelor's in psychology, master's in social work, recognized for a PhD in entrepreneurship and business administration. And so, but the one that I like to tote the most, the PhD, is the one that I got from the School of Hard Knocks. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Exactly. Thank you for putting them on the map for us today.
Yes,
Before we get into our case study and help Angela with her next steps, we like to get to know you a little bit more personally. This is our icebreaker. Now, we bring a lot of well-credentialed people on like yourself, and this is a break from what you do normally. This is just think of the first thing that comes to your mind. This is meant to be fun. There's no perfect answer. Just relax a little bit and let us see the other side of you today, okay? So the
Sure,
first
sure.
question is, how do you differentiate leader and a manager?
Absolutely. So managers manage systems, right? So managers manage systems. Leaders develop leaders. Leaders develop their teams. So that's, I mean, I don't know if you need more than that, but that's how I see the difference between leaders and managers.
I love that one. Actually, I really like that. And actually, I thought you were going to say managers manage, what'd you,
People,
systems?
yep, oh, yep, yep. Managers
Right.
manage systems because you can't really
And
manage people. People have to manage themselves.
And then I thought you were going to say right after that, leaders lead people, right? Like a quick little card or a T-shirt, like a slogan, right? But I love that. I think I actually like. I'm going to steal that one.
Yeah,
And it's
and I'll
really
add to that one.
leadership.
I'll
Mhm.
add to that one, Dr. Madison. I heard John C. Maxwell once say that if you're a leader but you're not leading anyone, you're just taking a walk.
Hmm. Wow. Yeah. So much food for thought. Okay, here's one. Everyone put on. So, as you've already gotten a little bit of glimpse of this powerhouse speaker, she comes with a lot of energy. I can't wait to hear how you answer this one. What is the next big idea you want to be a part of?
Oh, it's so phenomenal. So right now, does it have to be someone else's idea or my own?
I want to hear your ideas. So much of the time, we raise our children to build other people's dreams. But as a fellow entrepreneur, we get to a point where we're like, I don't want to live my life building someone else's dream.
Absolutely. So, and you guys are going to be the first to hear this. So, as a licensed mental health therapist, I helped people with music, using music therapy. So it's not something that a lot of people know about. It's a little bit like art therapy, but sometimes when clients can't really express themselves, like kind of like I'm struggling right now, but when they have a little bit of challenge with expressing themselves, music can really help them to bring that out. And so there is a form of music, and it's called K-pop. And I really, really love it. It's something that has brought me, my daughter, and my sister close together. And so, with that, we have a big idea with helping people through K-pop and really helping them to feel happier. Because what we found is that when people listen to K-pop, they feel happier. So that's one of our next big ideas, is really incorporating more of that into some of the treatments that we do.
Next question. The most important thing you've learned about communication.
I would say, and I know listen is an easy answer that we hear people say, but really listening, not just to respond, but taking a moment. So, like, I don't know if you all noticed when Dr. Madison asked me the question about the dream or about a new project, I actually stopped and paused. One, because I have multiple projects that I have in the fire, but I really wanted to give that some thought and give a answer that I felt was unusual. So really taking that time to pause, it's okay. So I would say in communication that the pause is okay. Even what they call the pregnant pause is okay. It really lets the person who asks you a question or who the person you're engaging with know that you are taking in the information, processing it, and giving it the attention that it deserves. Now, sometimes if the pause is too long, they might be like, especially if you're on the phone, hello, did the call drop? Hello, hello. And you say, no, 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 I really am just thinking about what you just said and taking it in. So I would say that would be the biggest thing for me in communication, is making sure that you're allowing the person that you're speaking to know that you are fully engaged with what they're saying. And that can be by way of pause.
Thank you. Something we can all use, myself included. Something you use every day to make your life easier.
Besides my phone, I would say something that I use every day to make my life. Okay, so this may be cliche, maybe not. The first thing that actually came to my mind It wasn't phone, it was water.
Mm.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Basic need, just it was water. I needed to stay hydrated. I needed to bathe, and it makes my life easier in the way that I feel refreshed. So it actually helps me to think better because when you're hydrated, right, we need that to have all of our bodies to function appropriately, including our brains to stay hydrated. So I would actually say the thing that makes my life easier every day that I use is water.
I love it. Last one, my favorite one. What season are you in now?
Mm. Mm. The first word that came to my mind was harvest. Harvest. So, and I know it's probably part of it is because of the season that we're actually in, literally here in Michigan. The weather is starting to change a little bit. Not today though, but you're starting to see some glimpses of that, knowing that fall or autumn is on the way, and it's time to harvest what you've sown. But I really felt that harvest because there's a lot of activities. Again, there's a lot of projects that I have, and there's a lot of people that I know need empowerment. They need to know what their next is. There's a lot that's happening in the tone of the world right now. And a lot of people need to know that there is hope. And they need to know that what is now, this too shall pass. And so that harvest is so important because sometimes you're at this crossroad and you don't know which way to go, but you know you have to go somewhere. And just think back to all of the things that you've done, all the things you've experienced, good, bad, and otherwise, that has now stored up inside of you, stored up inside of me. And guess what? Now is the time. It's time for harvest. So that's the season that I'm in, harvest.
Thank you so much. And it's a wonderful segue when we talk about hope and moving on, because as we learned from Angela, she did just achieve a really big accomplishment. Not everyone walks that path, right? However, she's at a crossroads. She has a great achievement over here, but she's not quite feeling ready to celebrate and continue to stay positive, and she wants to know what is next. So, why do survivors like Angela often feel more alone after treatment than during it? And I think this is coming as a surprise to most of our viewers.
You are a high performer, leader, survivor, and somehow the mirror still feels like a test. You can run a meeting, but getting dressed can break you. Clothes don't fit the way they used to, scars, numbness, tenderness, meds steal your sleep, energy, sometimes intimacy. You're praised for being strong, but you're tired of pretending you're back to before. That standard of beauty, it was never made for us. I'm Dr. Michelle D. Clark, founder of Lift After Breast Cancer. At Lift, we don't chase the old standard, we raise a new one. Trauma-informed coaching, community, and simple routines to redefine beauty and reclaim your voice and confidence. If you're ready to lead boldly in the boardroom and feel beautiful in your own skin, apply today via our Fit form. Go to bit.ly/explorefitform. That's bit.ly/explorefitform. Begin your next today. Absolutely, Dr. Madison. A lot of times people feel alone, and especially Angela would feel alone, is because most of the people I would presume in her close circle, knit circle, have never heard those words, those unfortunate words, you have breast cancer. And the way I heard it was ring, 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 ring. You got breast cancer, right? That's how I heard it. So most people have not heard those words. So even though they may provide a form of empathy or even listening that we just talked about and communicating and support, because they have not heard that, because they have not had their own personal journey with breast cancer, praise the Lord, but that puts them at a bit of a disadvantage in how to really provide her with that support. So, and I heard also in the case study that, going to another support group, like, I don't want to go to another support group. Well, one of the reasons why I created Lift After Breast Cancer, Dr. Madison, is because of the fact that the support groups that I went to, I didn't see anyone who looked like me. And when I say that, I mean, I was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer at the age of 39. So going through my treatments, when I went to the support groups after I emerged from active treatment, completing that, and felt like, okay, now I'm ready to kind of engage with others, I didn't see anybody look like me. Most of them were empty nesters, had already reached the pinnacle and beyond of their career, so they were retired. And so it was very challenging for me to feel supported in that. So it may not be support groups in general that Angela may be having challenges with. It may be the right type of support group, the kind that she can see someone who looks like her, who's going through some of the challenges that she's experienced. And so not having that can create that void for them. Additionally, a lot of times people are like, oh, well, praise the Lord, you survived. So we should be so glad that we're on the other side, that we're not, that death didn't defeat us. Well, that's one thing. But when we ring that bell, Dr. Madison, when we ring that bell, that's not the end. That's just the beginning. So yes, it's not to downplay the gratitude. Gratitude is important to have. Yes, I'm absolutely grateful that I'm here on this side of life. And I'm sure Angela's grateful that she's on this side of life. But that's not where it ends. That's just where it begins. And a lot of times, that's where people spend a lot of their energy in supporting us, in the fact of the gratitude. But what about the times when we look at our body and our bodies don't look the same? Angela burned. Guess what? So did I. I literally saw my body turn to ashes. I saw them turn to ashes. I had a mastectomy, then I had that radiation therapy. And because of that, my power suit didn't feel powerful anymore. When I looked in the mirror, I didn't recognize myself. And I'm wondering if that's what Angela's feeling as well. So you can be in a room full of a lot of people who feel alone because your journey is your personal journey.
Exactly.
And so in that, there is some hope in that. And so when we talk about infusing the hope in that, and what happened for me was connecting back to my source. So being able to connect to my source, because just like if we had a cell phone and we don't plug it in, what happens?
Mm-hmm.
It dies. And I read somewhere where it says, I shall not die, I shall live.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to get connected back with our source. And so that was something that helped me. And yes, surrounding myself with people who could be supportive of me. But again, getting into that right type of support group and getting into myself.
Mm-hmm.
We're with us every single day. That's the only person we can count on being here for us is us. When we wake up in the morning and our feet hit the ground, guess what? It's us. So finding that thing, finding something, that guiding star, something that you're passionate about. And that's the thing when we go through something as traumatic as breast cancer or anything that you may be experiencing in your life that's life altering, life changing, we have to get to know ourselves better. We have to get to know us. And we're going to put a bookmark there. But at the end of the show, I want to make sure to give you all a gift before I go that can help you all in that pathway to get to know who you are again, to redefine yourself, reimagine yourself, reignite your passion and your purpose. So that way you now can feel the power of what you've experienced and turn it into something that you can now utilize, not just to empower yourself. So take that power and empower yourself, but also others.
Yes. And so when we talk about Angela and where she's at the moment, on the outside, people know she had breast cancer, right? On the outside, they know that she celebrated the end of her treatment. But how do the hidden struggles like those radiation burns, like medication side effects or body image those changes affect recovery?
Absolutely.
Especially mental health wise, right? That's your bag. So let's highlight that.
100%. And I'm going to do a quick exercise here. We have to hydrate, right? So take a station identification for our hydration. So I'm going to take a break here, and I'll tell you why.
And if you're listening, make sure you come on over to YouTube or LinkedIn so you can see this demonstration.
Yes.
See how beautiful Dr. Clark looks.
Thank you so kindly. So I took a drink of water. I told you all, water is my thing. I always keep water on deck. And I took that water because one of the side effects of the medications that I take is dry mouth. It dries me out like nobody's business. And so with that, the challenge is When we see that body change, when we get that brain fog, which is a real thing, when we find that our energy may be low, we can't do the things that we used to do. Some of that may be because of aging, some of that may be because of diet, but a lot of it is because of the side effects of the medications. It literally wears our body out. Again, seeing ourselves look different in the mirror, all these things that are changes that we're trying to get back to normal. Well, normal has changed. So when we try to bounce back, recovery isn't about bouncing back. Recovery is about discovery. Recovery is about renew. So when we try to put, this is one of my phrases, that's in another book, that same book that I read, when you try to put old wine in new wineskin, or excuse me, yes, new wine in old wineskin, it doesn't work. So when we try to go back to what was, it's not going to work. We're going to frustrate ourselves, and we're going to find ourselves in that depressive state. So we have to reimagine ourselves, redefine ourselves, and understand that when we go through what we go through, that is not the thing that defines us. What it does is it refines us. So now we can find ourselves in something new. So when we go through something, it's to grow through that thing so that we can learn the lesson and reach back and help somebody else and be that blessing. And sometimes that person we're reaching back to bless is ourselves. Again, starting from home first. So when our bodies go through these changes, we find ourselves being depressed when we're comparing ourselves, depressed when we compare ourselves to the old. As we know that comparison is the thief of joy. So instead of trying to go back to what was, rediscover ourselves, find out what are some of those things that we can carry into the new, into the future, into the present where we are right now. So that's something that can help. As far as some of the mind setting that goes behind that as well, some of that depression. So everything is an event. So I want to break this down. So if you can take a piece of paper and put some columns in there. In the first column, I want you to put event. In the next column, I want you to put thoughts. In the next column, I want you to put feelings or emotions. And in the final column, I want you to put behavior or actions. So what happens is everything that we go through goes through this lens, our perceptions, right? Everything goes through this lens. Every event that we experience goes through our thoughts. And so when we experience something, the best way to put this is everybody generally has a real intense reaction when we hear the word snake. Right? So play along with me. So if you say the word snake, most people have a reaction. Why? They think about a snake and it's like, those people who are scared of snakes will be like, oh, maybe it's going to bite me or it could asphyxiate me or it could kill me. It's dangerous. It's venomous. Then here comes the fear. So fear, scared. Now we're going into the emotions column. And then what is the response to that? Now is to run or to freeze or to try to fight back, any of those things, right? But can we agree that there's also some folks who love snakes? So in that, they see the snake and they're like, oh, it's so beautiful. I want to take a picture of it. I wonder what breed is it? And some people may even find it a delicacy. And of course, no snakes were hurt in this example. So as based on that, now they feel excited or intrigued or curious. And then as a result, what do? They may capture it to keep it as a pet. They may, again, take a picture of it. They may do any of those things. So what made the difference in the event? The snake. The thing that made the difference in our emotion was our thoughts about that event. So our thought about the event is what created our feelings and then our outcome, which is our behavior. So when I'm working with my clients, I'm helping them with getting in touch with their thoughts. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So what are your thoughts? What are you saying to yourself? And helping to really get to that. 'Cause a lot of people go from event to feelings. It just happened. Nothing just happens. There's always that column here of the thought. The challenge is sometimes we've rehearsed the behavior. We've rehearsed so much and we've experienced this so often that now it becomes second nature. Like driving a car. When we first start driving a car, we have to adjust the mirrors, put the seatbelt on, okay, put the pedals on here, put my hand on the gear shift, all those things. We get in the car now after doing it, repeating it over and over and over again. We're, eating a sandwich, putting on makeup, all those things while driving, right? But please don't do that. The bottom line is it becomes second nature because we've done it so often. It's the same thing with events that we experience. So because we've experienced it in some shape, form, or fashion, now we feel like it just happens. So I have to help them to now, let's go back to the thought. Let's tease out those thoughts. So that way we can help you to make those adjustments, something that's called thought replacements. And the key is, I don't want to go too far into it, but the key is that when we're replacing the thoughts, you have to do it just a degree different. Because if not, we have something that's called schemas. That's basically our processing system where we place things in the filing cabinet. It'll say, that's too far-fetched. I don't believe you. We're rejecting it. So you have to just do just a little bit of degree difference. So that way our minds will accept the new idea and place it into one of the filing cabinets. And we just continue to do that incrementally until we get to the belief system that we want to build.
When you were going through all the different emotions, what I recognized in there that I think doesn't come up enough for survivors? Grief, right? Because you said she's not going to be recouping the life that she lost or the body, right? And so there is a grieving process, right? So there was the trauma and shock of the diagnosis itself. There's the anxiety and depression over your physical changes and the side effects of the medication, your hair. And then there's that grief, that life that, because you just wanted to get over so you can get back to your life. That's what everyone says. That is literally what everyone says. I just want to go back to normal. But that normal has to be redefined. And the grief, when we talk about cancer, we're talking about someone has died, and now we're talking about the people who are left to bereave them. But I don't think we're ever talking about it in their survivor, the grief that they're going through. So when we think about that and the mental health changes that you talked about, in the context of women like Angela, who are high-performing women who face cancer, and now it's colliding with their career, caregiving, and confidence. What unique challenges do they face as they're navigating this next chapter?
Absolutely. Well, the main thing is going back, for those who are still in the workforce, going back to work too soon. Going back to work too soon is a huge challenge. And there was an article in the New Yorker that talked about why we're bad about healing or why we're bad about recovering. And in that article, it talked about that some 80 to 90% of Americans go back to work when they're still feeling sick. So unfortunately, as high performers, we feel like we have to continue to perform. And so we overdo different activities. So we booked our schedule way too much. So let's say prior to cancer, maybe we were able to knock out 15, 20 things before lunch, right? And now we're trying to compete with that same pace when we're still in recovery. Again, just because we ring the bell, just because we've completed active treatment, doesn't mean that our body is healed completely. Including if we have to take like aromatase inhibitors, such as myself. I haven't reached my 10-year mark yet. So I'm coming upon 10 years now, but I still have to take that medication. I shouldn't say have to, I choose to, right? So I choose to. It was recommended and I made the decision to do that. I'm taking ownership. Well, the point is that, so there are things physiologically that our body is still recovering, emotionally, mentally, still recovering. And we're still trying to run at that same pace and not honoring what our body is telling us. And so coming to terms with making those adjustments, it doesn't make us less than. It makes us responsible. It makes us responsible. So one of the challenges, that's one of the main challenges that high achievers face, is trying to do too much too soon. Trying to get back in the game and do so much and not honoring what our bodies are telling us to do. Because the challenge is, let's put it like this. If somebody was playing a sport and they hurt their ankle, come on, it's something that's so, we're talking about something that's physical, like breast cancer, and yet people see it different than a heart attack. They see it different than an injury in a leg. They see it differently than that, because when we look fine, people think that we're fine, and we are not. And because we're used to being the one to put out the fires, we're used to being the one that people call when they need something, when they need help, when they need this document done, when they need, this problem resolved. Whenever they need something, we're the person that's being called upon.
And we're the one that's agreeing and raising our hand, right? You said taking ownership.
Right? Exactly. And I'm heading right in that direction.
Yeah.
And so the challenge is that because that has become so much of our identity.
Yeah.
That now when we feel like we're falling short of that,
yeah,
because we're still trying to do that to live up to that old narrative that no longer is serving our body.
Yeah.
There's that challenge. Here comes depression. Here comes anxiety. Here comes doubt. Here comes grief. And so really understanding that, just like that twisted or sprained ankle, we have to allow it to heal. We have to go at a pace, what I call slow down to speed up. So that way we can really find the healing that we not just need, but we deserve.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned, because we know there's a lot of women who look like us that are watching this. And I think you said, we're making this choice. And I know there's a lot of women like us who are in positions, they would love to choose another seat. But because of the cards that they've been dealt, when they think about, hey, I'm not going to show up, I'm not going to raise my hand, I'm not going to agree, that anxiety creeps in, because who is going to do it? And in our community, sometimes there hasn't been someone else to do it. And so sometimes that's why we're rushing back to work, because we are the breadwinner. We're rushing back because of insurance, because of the pressures from our job. And so how do you speak to that, right? We can't ignore that either.
Hi, I'm Alicia from the Melanin Initiative podcast. Our mission is twofold. One, to simplify complex health information so you feel empowered to ask questions, educated on how to manage your health, and confident to navigate the healthcare system. And two, to elevate the expertise of nurses, spotlight the diverse career opportunities within the healthcare industry, and inform our peers how to leverage their expertise as clinicians and entrepreneurs. In less than 2 years, we've grown to over 50,000 views and 1,000 downloads, with an international audience spanning the US, Canada, the UK, Australia, and more. Our engaged listeners are professionals, entrepreneurs aged 25 to 44 who value authentic, impactful content. Want to connect with this dynamic audience? Advertise with us. Send in your 1-minute video ad and let's amplify your brand. Email tmi.melanin@gmail.com for rates and details. Let's work together.
Absolutely, no, we cannot. And that's where it's really important for us to have the conversations with corporate social responsibility.
I like say that again.
Yes, right? Corporate social responsibility, CSR, is so important for employers. So especially if you're not the employee, if you're not the employer and you're an employee, no matter what level you're at, and you're going to work for someone, we need to have those types of conversations with them so they can understand that there has to be some, I don't know what to say, concessions, but there has to be some procedures. That's the word I was looking for. Some procedures put in place to help those who have experienced something as severe and traumatic as breast cancer, to help them to reintegrate back into the workforce. So they don't have that feeling of, I have to perform, I have to get back, or I'm going to lose my job because I only have so much FMLA. Or because disability is a joke. It's only, what is that, 50, 40, 40%, 60%, maybe 60 to 80% of your pay, or X amount of dollars, $500, $800, whichever one's less. And of course, it's always going to be less. So I get that. So that's why we have to have these kind of conversations. That's why we have to go to Capitol Hill. That's why we have to lobby. So that way we can make some changes in how the system works. And not just talking amongst each other, but really talking to the folks who can make those changes. We put certain people in office. We voted for them. So they work for us. So having those conversations with the people who we've put into office and letting them know what it is that we need as breast cancer survivors to put in place so that way we can perform when our body allows us to be able to take that hiatus. If I need to take a quick 15, or maybe I don't even need 15, maybe I need to take a quick 5. I should be able to get up and go to the bathroom and take a quick 5. I should be able to go outside and walk around the building, do some deep breathing. Mm-hmm. We need to have programming so that way I can have as a part of my package, as part of my health insurance package, where now I can have that the mental health therapist and be able to speak with them. I can have that time, that flexibility. Because what I found is that when people work themselves, I almost say when people work themselves to an early age. When people work themselves to the bone, they're actually less productive. More mistakes happen. Then that's when they're going to have to tap into sick days and sick leave because we're working ourselves sick rather than working where we're optimal. There's certain hours during the day that we're optimal. There's certain times of the year that we're optimal. So we have to tap into those types of things, tap into our optimal performance, and then take a break and rest. So that way we can now fully function when we return rather than running on E for 80% of the time that we're working and only getting 20% done rather than really putting in that time when we're well and getting it done.
Yes. So we've done a really great job laying down the foundation and helping the viewers understand where Angela sits right now, where her perspective looks like, because we know her family. It's a wonderful. I know that as the daughter of a woman diagnosed with breast cancer, I can only see the balloons and the rainbow and this. I can see all that, right? And God bless my mother. I know she doesn't share a lot of things, right? I know she kept a lot of things to herself, and so let's give these women like Angela solutions.
Yes. And can I add one more thing?
Sure.
Because I remember when you said how a lot of times we go back to work or we raise our hand and say, yes, I'll do this, I'll do that, because we feel like no one else will do that. Mm-hmm. Well, again, we have to take responsibility for that. We are the person raising our hand. We are the person. What I found is, surprisingly enough, is that when we step back, someone else will step up. I'm talking about family now, y'all. I'm talking about in the family. When we step back, someone else will step up and help out. And sometimes it just is a matter of us asking for help. And that's not just personally, but also professionally. There's nothing weak about asking for help and assistance. And I do understand that in certain positions, if you ask for help, it is seen like, oh, wow, she needs help or someone's going to take my job or take my position. The bottom line is when one door closes, another one opens. Sometimes we're holding on to something that's holding us back. I'm going to say that again for the people in the back. Sometimes we're holding on to something that's holding us back. Sometimes there's bigger and better for us. And we went through this experience because now it gives us another leadership skill. We survived. We are thriving now. We are resilient. So now we have this in our tool belt that gives us that extra edge that nobody else has. We know how to fight and we know how to win. So we take that with us.
Yes. Okay. So let's talk about winning for Angela, right?
Yes.
And other women. We're going to talk about how they can now transform their trauma into testimony. Yes. You've developed the LIFT framework. So how you're going to describe it and then let Angela know the first step she needs to take to apply it to her life to make this transformation.
Absolutely. Well, the first thing, so first of all, Lift After Breast Cancer is an acronym. It stands for Living, Inspire, Free, and Transform. I had to put that in there for my daughter. But as far as for the lift framework, so the first thing we want to do is we want to find out, where are we? You go to a mall and it says you are here.
Mm-hmm.
So where are you right now, Angela? Where are you finding yourself?
Mm-hmm.
And that's in multifaceted. So we're not just talking about in your career, but work life, home life, personal life, because we are still individuals before anything else. So finding out where you are in that, and then the identify. So where do you want to be?
I bet that high achieving woman does not get asked that question
Mm-mm,
at all.
mm-mm, mm-mm,
But
mm-mm,
even to
no,
herself, right? We're here to take accountability. And I will say, as a high achieving person, I know that sometimes we don't ask that question either
no,
of ourselves, right?
mm-mm,
So
no,
we want to make
no.
it to be fair here. This is a balanced view.
It is, and a lot of times we don't, because we're so busy doing.
Mm-hmm.
We're
Yeah.
so busy doing that we don't actually stop, like plan, do, review the plan part. And that plan doesn't have to be the same plan that you've already been running on. So really taking the time to say, well, where do I want to be?
Mhm.
And if where you are is where you want to be, that's fine. If it's not, let's work that out. Let's work that out. And if it is where you want to be, how can we now enhance that? Because there's always a way to improve and elevate, right? Like our celebration, elevation, transformation brunch. There's always a way to elevate. And so that's the second part. So the third one, so that's the L and the I. The F is free, freeing ourselves from false standards. And I shouldn't say false standards, but from the narratives that people place upon us. So that's why when I said it's false, but really freeing ourselves from what society, what the world, what we even think
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What we've
is
been
the standard.
agreed to hold on to, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So really allowing ourselves that freedom,
Mm-hmm.
that freedom. So freeing ourselves from those narratives that we are holding on to that may be keeping us from where we identify, where we want to be. And then the last one is really seeing that transformation in acting. So, okay, so what are some things that we're going to put in place, both to help you get there, and also if you find yourself going backwards, what are some safeguards? Like if you're bowling, what are those guardrails that we can put up that can help you to re-navigate back into your transformation? So that's our system that helps women to navigate their life and navigate through some of the, again, taking away some of those false preconceived notions that others have of us, that we have of ourselves, really get to reimagine ourselves, reignite our passion, reimagine our self-identity, and then move into that passion, into that power, into that purpose that we now have identified for ourselves. So that way we can transform and radiate outwards and really live in our purpose. Because what I found more than anything, Dr. Madison, is that when we are not, I don't even want to say performing, when we are not being in our purpose, we will find ourselves drained like nobody's business. So really identifying what are some of those things that revive us and brings life, breathes life into us. And what are some of those things that drain us? That's also some of the things we talk about in our identify. It's some energy savers, energy zappers. What are some things that we need to take on? What are some things that we can transfer to someone else? What are some things that we can take time away and put it on the shelf? And then what are some things we need to toss? Right? The 4 T's. So those are some of the things that we implement and help them to really, so it's not just fluff. It literally is, let's roll up the sleeves. Let's look at what is. Let's get honest with each other, because I can't help you if you're still putting up the facade.
Yeah.
And when I say facade, it's not meant to say that you're not that person. But if you're finding yourself having to perform up to a standard that you no longer really even want to live by, we got to make some changes. We got to make those changes. So we have to identify that. So let's get in the trenches together. I'm here with you.
And yeah, we're going to talk about the power of that community. As you're talking, and I do want to acknowledge that breast cancer does impact men and women equally. In my family, that has definitely been the case. So we always like to acknowledge that when we're talking about breast cancer. But when you're talking, and you're talking about kind of the journey of breast cancer, and we've done that on this show with my mom coming on, we dedicated individual episodes to her diagnosis, treatment, life after treatment, and faith in medicine. We saw a little bit of that as well then too, but it reminds me of pregnancy and the whole overall umbrella of women's health and the fight for that, right? And so when you're talking and you're talking about kind of the recovery stage, it reminded me so much of postpartum, because all the attention goes on Labor Day, which is,
Yeah.
it's a one-time occurrence. It might happen it might be extended for a couple of days for some people, but it's that postpartum that really hits people hardest. And we see this in surgery. A lot of the attention is on the surgery day, but we tell patients after the surgery, this is the work. This is actually the hardest part. And so you had alluded to this earlier. When you agree to one thing, you're agreeing to everything that comes after that. And sometimes we're not really preparing enough. We're not preparing people enough for that. And so you talked about being there for people. And we know that being in community is the biggest difference between existing and thriving. So how do you show up, and what kind of community have you created for people, and where can they show up and be present?
Absolutely. So we talked about the celebration, elevation, transformation brunch. So I have to tell how that came about. So if you all will bear with me for a moment here. So you also talked about how when we put so much energy into a surgery, so was me. So was me. I put so much into this particular surgery that I've been waiting for. When people think that I was waiting for it for just a few months. No. From the time I heard you have breast cancer and I knew I had to have one of my girls removed, then I knew I wanted to do reconstruction. And so just to give you all a time frame, I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2015. This particular surgery I'm talking about is 2023. So I had to get cleared for this surgery because in my history, I also 1 year prior to breast cancer, I had 2 strokes, 2 days apart. I couldn't walk or talk, use my whole right side, had to recover from that. Next year, stage 2 breast cancer, about to be cleared from healing from the mastectomy, healing from radiation therapy, to go into reconstruct. And then I had a mini stroke, had to wait from that. And then, okay, so now I got cleared, had some challenges with the expander, started to leak. So I had to get that out. So right before I got that out, right directly after getting that out, the very next week after my post-op, the very next day, COVID shut everything down. So now you see where we're at in timeline. So now I had to wait with a flat side, and now I had to wait with a lump that was bigger than the breast I already had on the right side. So I had to wait for the augmentation. So I've been waiting. Finally get cleared. 2023, March 23rd. I'm like, oh, I love this date. 032323. Let's go. This has got to be something, right? So I get in, have my cap and gown on, ready to graduate to the other side of surgery. The surgeon had marked up my body. Okay, let's go. And they said, okay, Michelle, all we have to do is do a COVID test, and then we're going to wheel you to the back. A nurse comes out with this look on her face. And I'm like, nope, no. She's like, I'm so sorry. You had to put your clothes on. You have COVID. And I said, no, wait. I've thrown a false positive before. Please retest me. She said, I'm sorry, we can't. You have to go. And I was absolutely devastated. I put so much energy into that surgery that I just didn't even know what to do. Of course, I had to leave. And FYI, I took multiple home tests and I took a test at the health department. It was another false positive. I did not have COVID. So they rescheduled me. 10 days before that surgery, I actually did catch COVID. So delayed again. Finally, get to the table, get the surgery, have it done. But in that pause, we talked about pause earlier, from March to August was actually when it happened. There was this long pause, and I tapped back into my source and I said, everybody keeps saying to me, well, maybe God moved that out the way so that way you could be safe, and that's why you didn't have the surgery. And I talked to God and I said, well, God, I know that you're all powerful, you're almighty, you can move that out the way, you're able. Why do you move that and let me have my surgery? And what I heard was, because then you wouldn't have known it was me. So what I realized in that moment was that there was a reason there was a pause. There was a reason there was a delay. It wasn't a denial. It just was a delay to make the way for me to really pause in my pain, to pull out my passion and my purpose. And that's when I realized that it was for me to work with breast cancer survivors. Because up until that point, I had been running, doing, going back to work, doing all the things that I now know better, and just running myself raggedy. Between the two strokes, I went back to work, y'all. I had a stroke on that Saturday, released on Sunday. Monday, went back to work. Later that night, I had the second stroke, and it was bad. Running, doing. But now I had this, what I call involuntary vacation, where I had to pause. But because of that, that's where Lift After Breast Cancer was birthed on 10/10/2023. And then it was placed upon my heart to do the Celebration, Elevation, Transformation Brunch. And I did that 1 year after that event. So on March 23rd of 2024, we had our first event, and it was absolutely fabulous. This year we had it again, and we sold out. And so that's one of the things we do. We literally celebrate each other. We have some information, but we really have fun. We fun and we celebrate each other. We elevate each other. And then there's transformation that happens. After one of the brunches, a young lady said she'd been wanting to start her nonprofit for years. And after leaving the brunch, she did. She started her nonprofit. Another young lady said, you know what? I had not had a mammogram in 30 years. But after I left the brunch, I had the mammogram. So we have testimonies like that, where we come together in this synergy, and it's nothing like it in the world. And yes, we do it's hybrid, so you can tune in from anywhere in the world, but I'm telling you, baby, it's nothing like being there in person, where you're really able to soak in all of that energy and synergy. And so that's one of the things that we do. We also just we did the Susan G. Komen race for the cure. So we had a team for that, because it's so important for us to make sure that we're able to raise dollars to find a cure. So no one else has to hear those words, you have breast cancer. But guess what? If they do, that it can be eradicated from our bodies without having to go through all of these hoops and things that actually kills our cells, our life cells. So that's something else that we do. In addition to that, we have different programming throughout the year like we have our Women's Health Awareness Symposium. We had our Breast Cancer Awareness Symposium. So we have different symposiums that help women to come together and learn more about different ailments, if you will, or different, I shouldn't say ailments, but health issues. Let's put it like that. Learn about different health issues. And one of the things that we did at our Women's Health Awareness Symposium is we actually talked about financial health too. We talked about the whole woman, right? So we were helping to heal the whole woman. And so our financial health was one of the things we talked about in there. So we address it because we understand that sometimes women, and it doesn't matter where you sit. It doesn't matter, where you sit. And when I say sit, I'm talking about career-wise. Financial toxicity is real. And so I know we talked about earlier why that's some of the reasons why sometimes women go back to work when they're not well. It's because of that financial toxicity, and they need to produce so that way that they can continue to live the lifestyle that they've built. But I'm going to tell you what, wealth without health is not wealth. Yeah. It is not. So these are some of the programs and some of the community that we built. So that way, and on the cusp, what we have in the works now, in 2026, we will have our inaugural retreat. We'll have our inaugural retreat. We will be able to, and it's going to be very intimate. So we're only going to have a handful of women, because I really want to pour into each and every one of them. And so I'm super excited about that. So be on the lookout for information on that.
How do you qualify to be part of what you have going on? And where can people go, like Angela, if she wants to sign up right now?
Yep, absolutely. So you can go to my website, www.micheledclark.com, and that's MICHELEDCLARK.com. Again, that's one L in Michelle. You don't need two, and one does the same. So you can go to my website, and then you can check out the things we have there. So we have the community in there. We also have coaching in there. So if you are experiencing, you're like, you know what, I love the community, but I really want something one-on-one, we do that as well. And then you can find out also about the retreat in the website. And then you can also book an appointment. So if you say, you know what, I'm ready to get started, I want to book an appointment, you can do that as well. So, and you can drop me a line. You might say, well, you know what, I really want to get to know you a little bit more, know about more some of the other programmings, you can check out the website. You can also hit us on the contact. I also reside on LinkedIn and Facebook, so mostly LinkedIn, and you can get to know me that way as well, and my YouTube channel. So there's multiple ways to get to know me and some of the initiatives that we have. But the best way, I would just tell you all, is hit up my website. Go to my website.
And we'll have all those links in the description box. What is the criteria to be a part of your community?
Absolutely. So we answer the question of what's next. So if you are in active treatment, we want you to heal. We want you to complete active treatment. So that is the main criteria, is for you to have completed active treatment. So that way, when we do different activities, it may not be, I don't want to say contraindicative of what your doctor may say, because we don't do that anyways. But there may be some activities like the walk we may do that you may not feel up to energy wise. But so make sure that you have already completed active treatment. Additionally, we are a community for high performers. So if you consider yourself a high performer, meaning that you are, I guess, the CEO, you can be the CEO of your life, C-suite executives. So that's the population that we work with. So those are the criteria that we're looking for when we're talking with our clients and meeting with them. So one of the things that we are working on, that's in the works right now, is we are working on other initiatives, because again, we do realize that some women may not meet that criteria, but still want to be able to participate. And one of the things that is so beautiful about our Celebration, Elevation, Transformation Brunch is that high performers attend that, as well as we have sponsorships where there are breast cancer survivors who are sponsored with a VIP ticket, so that way they are able to attend if they are experiencing that financial toxicity. So those are some of the ways that we are still inclusive, but our programs are designed for high performers, because a lot of the topics that we cover, the problems that we resolve, are for those who are high performers.
Well, thank you so much. You've done a beautiful job, not only sharing your testimony, but giving really actionable steps for Angela and the people in her life. And I think we did a really good job in this episode, not just focused on the cancer, right?
Yes.
That was
Yes.
like one component of her story, but she still had a full life. She still had full personality. She still had dreams and hope and a life to live after that. And we brought attention to things that are often invisible because of that one piece that she completed the treatment. And we, on everybody, not just Angela, wants life to move on. Everybody
Yes.
wants life to go back to normal, right?
Mm.
And this week, I think we did a really good job highlighting things aren't going to go back to normal,
They're
right?
not.
And
They're
just
not.
like after the baby is born, after the surgery, after the funeral, you're still there. And sometimes you're still reliving that. And to give permission, and you have to take ownership, right?
Yes.
You put so
Yes.
much
Yes.
energy to get through treatment. That was energy enough. And now the recovery begins, and you have to kind of find the energy and the hope and the grace, and to give yourself that freedom. One of my favorite words.
Mhm.
A lot of people, they haven't experienced that before. So the advice you gave, they're going to be doing these activities for the very first time. They might be in their 40s and 50s, because as a kid, they grew up in a home where they had to be high achieving because of the cards they were dealt. And so this will be the first time they're doing this for the first time.
Absolutely.
You showed us how we can connect with you. And so we'll have that information in the description box. Before I do my close, do you have final words for the audience?
I absolutely do. I wanted to add something on there for the criteria, because what I told you was more of like the demographics, but I really want to go a little bit deeper than that. Because if you're saying to yourself, I want to get to my next, I know that what I'm living right now is not where I was designed to be. I know that there's more in life. I heard that we're designed to live life and live it abundantly. And when we say abundant, it's not just about money. It's really feeling that fulfillment. And so when a woman has experienced breast cancer, they recovered from active treatment, and they're ready to move into their next, because they know that they have way more life to live, and they have way more love to give. And they're finding themselves saying, you know what? Maybe my confidence is a little rattled, but I'm ready to lead boldly in the boardroom and feel beautiful in the skin that I'm in. Then guess what? Lift After Breast Cancer is for you. We're here for you. So I really wanted to tap into that. I didn't want to just leave it with the demographics, because someone may say to themselves, okay, yeah, I'm that, but I don't see how Lift After Breast Cancer is for me. This is how. So if you're finding yourself wanting to up your game, finding yourself wanting to get your confidence back, get your mojo back, and really lead boldly, feel beautiful in the skin that you're in, and take your life to that next level after breast cancer. And that's what Lift After Breast Cancer is for. That's the clients that we're looking for. So,
Thank you.
yes, so in closing, I want to give you all a gift. If this is you, I want to give you a gift. It is the Self-Rediscovery Blueprint, and it's going to help you. It's a mini ebook that I created it's downloadable, and all you have to do is text the word blueprint and your name and email address. So the word blueprint, and matter of fact, let's talk about blueprint and melanin. So let's put that in there, blueprint and melanin, because I want to give TMI Melanin some credit here, right? So blueprint and melanin, along with your name and email address, text that to 586-685-7474. Again, that is 586-685-7474, and you will get your free copy of my mini ebook, The Self-Rediscovery Blueprint, that will help you to get your confidence back and to find your purpose and your passion after life's happenings.
Well, thank you so much. You've been so generous in not only your time and your expertise, but in this gift that you're giving everyone. And I just want to acknowledge Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It's a big deal over here at the Melanin Initiative. And we want to just thank women like you and my mother who are survivors, but continue the good fight in speaking for the voiceless, in advocating, in going on Capitol Hill, in trying to raise dollars, in being that representation, in agreeing to clinical trials, in agreeing to sharing your stories, in agreeing to speak in their legislators. It's never ending. And even after that diagnosis, I can say it impacts the whole family. So every time you have a doctor's visit, every time you're waiting for results for something, you relive that. What's going to be next? Are we going to go through that again? What's that going to be like? And so I thank you so much for your time and your attention, for your commitment, for your ministry, and for not being afraid to share your testimony, right? Because shame is a big part of this too. We can think that we've done something. And so when we talk about mental health, the emotions are all over the place. But you've done a beautiful job today giving us hope, faith, community, so you don't have to be alone. And the fact that you continue to expand your offerings and your network, and that you've been so accessible. We thank you for that. You're always welcome back here at the Melanin Initiative. We thank everyone. Remember, you can email us your questions and show ideas at tmi.melanin@gmail.com. If you haven't already, there's still time. You can subscribe, leave us a comment or two, give us a thumbs up, go over to Apple and Spotify and give us 5 stars. Every time you do that and you interact with our platform like that, it shows the algorithm that this information is important. And we know this information is very important for our community. And so it helps us be higher in the search results when people and their families are looking for questions like the ones that we answered today. At the time of this recording, we release new videos every Sunday at noon Eastern on LinkedIn and YouTube, and you can follow us on every single social media platform. We drop the audio at 5 a.m. on your favorite podcast app so that our night shift friends can be the first to get something and not the last. We thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.